So this just in, the Supreme Court in Wisconsin has ruled it unlawful to continue lockdown measures because of the coronavirus. Um, they say it's unlawful and unenforceable. So, in a high profile win for the state's Republican led legislators, in a 4-3 decision Wednesday, the court ruled that the Democratic Governor Tony Evers overstepped its authority when the State Department of Health extended the order to May 26th. The ruling comes after legislators, Republican leaders filed a lawsuit last month arguing the order would cost Wisconsin residents their jobs and hurt many companies, asserting that if it was left in place, our state will be in shambles. So essentially, Wisconsin is going to be reopening. And the one thing I've taken away from this story is that a lot of other Supreme Courts around the country are going to start overriding their governors as well and just open up full bore. Let's get back to work. And again, I think you have two sides of it that are confusing. And I'm going to start one with this, and this is a take that you may not have, but this is really bad for Donald Trump. This is really, really bad for Trump. And I'll tell you why. So there's a lot of Gen Xers, maybe the Gen Xers to the 55-year-olds, who they want to reopen, get back to work, get back to the grind. They're the ones protesting. They're the ones walking around looking like they're operators with their AK-47s and whatever. They're good to go. And they're going to vote for Trump regardless, right? And if you look at the polls, Donald Trump has been pretty favorable with elderly people. Elderly people are what really got Donald Trump over the finish line in 2016. It wasn't the Pepe Frog people. It wasn't the far right. It wasn't just your full-blown Republican. No, it was old people. Old people did it for him. Well, Joe Biden now has a lead, and in some states, a 19-point lead with old people. That's just damning for President Trump. And all of it comes from COVID, and it comes from opening up. Again, let's look at these same polls and find out who has the highest approval rating. Like Andrew Cuomo is one of the politicians with the most highest approval rating right now at like 80%. Now, Cuomo is a piece of garbage, and that's coming from someone on the left. He doesn't deserve it, but he's doing all these PR, COVID meetings that are televised and people are watching, and he looks like he's trying to protect everyone and care about everyone. He's not, because while he's doing that, he is trying to strip away people's Medicare. But I digress. It makes it look good, though. And elderly people, and of course the younger people, are always going to be against Trump. They're going Biden because and again, folks on the elderly, they're worried about dying. They don't want to die right now. And Trump keeps supporting the, opening up faster. Let's go. And again, polls also show about 68 to 70% of Americans believe that we're opening too fast right now. That's a problem. That's a real problem if you're Donald Trump, because that's a majority. I'm guessing that's, pretty much all your Democrats, and then your elderly Republicans. 70% of the country. You can't win an election on that. And as states open up, they're going to blame Trump because Trump was tweeting, liberate Wisconsin, liberate Michigan, blah, blah, blah. And media took that and ran with it, as they do. And now every state that opens, they're going to blame Trump. And let's look, at Trump's own approval rate. When this pandemic started, I think a lot of people really gave him a shot. I mean, his approval rating was in the 50s, like the mid 50s, which was one of the highest it's been. A lot of people were like, yeah, Trump's doing a good job. He seemed to be concerned about this. He seemed to be concerned about the American people. And as time has gone on, his approval rating has also dropped. And what's happened in that time? He's walked things back. Well, we need to open up. The cure is worse than the disease itself. All these things kind of being counterintuitive to the precautions that we have to take. And look, that's not me saying this. These are the polls, and you can see it happening. Trump's approval rating is back down to actually below what it was before the pandemic. And he can't blame the globalists. He can't blame the pandemic. No, he can only blame himself and his actions, because if he had just done either A, what Joe Biden has done, which is basically, I'm going in my basement and hiding, coming out with just some very generalized, like, oh, this is what we should do. He could have punted this entire time. Well, we should do what the scientists say. We should do what the CDC and FEMA says. And when that doesn't work, then he can come out and be like, well, those fuckers, they really screwed us. He could definitely have that take with it. But now, no, he wanted to be the lead guy on a lot of this stuff, and it's making him look really bad. He did this to himself, and the more and more he's pushing for this, he is losing the elderly vote. I know that there was a Republican statesman on Fox News who said, well, people like me, we're willing to die for this country. Well, he was only speaking for himself, apparently, because the elderly vote has never gone Democrat. Never. And that's what we're seeing right now. It's just horrible for Donald Trump, to be honest. And so, yeah, a lot of people who are celebrating this and you putting your tactical vests away for your next protest, waiting for, the peanut butter company to say something liberal so you can get back in your costume, and you're, having a celebration to this victory. You may be the reason why your president loses this year, because you're a minority vote. The majority is elderly people. That's who got this done for Trump, and he's losing them. It's very interesting to see where this might go, and to see if this sets precedent in other states, and to see if other states start reopening. I want to be clear on one thing, though, before I finish this off. The state themselves, they have to also work, and I mean, and they have to compromise, and they have to work with the governors and work with businesses and find out what is going to work and what's not going to work. We are at a point, I completely agree, we can't just keep everything shut down. It doesn't work that way. People are going to need money, they need jobs, we're going to need production. We're going to need items, there are certain things that maybe shouldn't be open, like strip clubs, even though I think we could all use one right now. No, but there's a lot of things that we consume because it's need. And rather it be, something like soap or knives or, whatever, or something like your mental needs, a book, video games, whatever. We need stuff, and we need that stuff to be available to us. And Amazon can't be the only one who reaps all of the rewards from this. But these governors need to come in and talk to small businesses and say, okay, how can we do this properly? We need to reopen. We need to set up stages. We need to figure this out. Here's the guidelines that we want to set. Now, can you work within these? How can you work within these? Have the businesses set up just a simple model, a real quick 5-minute little thing they could just submit and say, this is what we're going to do. Boom, you're done. Good. And yeah, maybe if you violate that, you might be suspended or something like that, because there has to be a compromise. We can't just open up completely and let everyone rush into small buildings and small structures and subways and things like that, and people are going to get sick again. I mean, look at Georgia. I talked about Georgia 3 weeks ago, and I said, I hope I'm not on here saying, look at the numbers in Georgia. Yeah, look at the numbers in Georgia. They're going up drastically. Florida has pretty much stopped giving actual numbers on the day. They're delaying their numbers. All of that is happening. It's true. It's real. People are dying of this. People are getting sick of it. And that's not the way it has to be. It doesn't have to be yes or no. And I really hate those false choices. And for some reason, we do that a lot as Americans. You know, it's well, if it's only a 7-round magazine, then it might as well be 0. I need 15. You know, like that mentality. No. Nothing is on a continuum. Nothing. We're not full-blown yes on anything. You might say, well, what about oral sex? Well, what if she's all teeth? Are you down for that? No. Look, I'm just saying. We have to find ways to stay safe and still open back up, and we can do that. It's not that hard. Look at what our forefathers have done. I mean, God's sakes. All we're asked to is, hey, open up, put masks on, stand 6 feet away from each other, and continue business as normal. And we're crying because, well, it's not exactly normal. It's not like it was. Meanwhile, in the 40s, all of our parents or grandparents, grandparents, whatever, had to stop what they were doing and go make fucking tanks. What'd they say? Let's do it for America. But us, nah. We can't be bothered with this shit. And it's not even us, really. It's the goddamn government and our state government. You know, it's compromise, is all I'm saying. And I think we all have to work on that. Whether you're shopping at Walmart and somebody tells you to put on a mask, put a fucking mask on. Stop being a bitch. Or if you're a business who is afraid to open up, open up. Do it safely. Don't be a bitch. We have to find a medium path here. And we're not going to if it's yes or no. Just yes or no. Nothing's going to work. If it's all yes, then we're dead, essentially. And I mean that in every sense of the term. Because if we, like I said, if we open up full bore, everyone's back like it was, this thing is going to spread really bad again. And then we're going to have to shut down again. Yeah, that's going to be fucking fantastic for our economy, isn't it? And if we don't open up at all, our economy's never going to get going, and we're all going to starve to death. We have to compromise. That is my whole point. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I know all of you guys, you get what I'm saying, and that is pretty amazing. But I am curious what your thoughts are on all this, how you would do it. If you were as a governor, if you were Supreme Court, what would be your way to open up? How do you think this is going to affect? Do you think the Supreme Court of California is going to step in and say, no, we all need to open up? And I know they're already starting to anyway. That was a bad example, but there are other states that are still staying pretty well locked down. Not many, honestly. But I'm just curious your thoughts about this last ruling in Wisconsin. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Take care.